All right. Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to Exploring the Lord of the Rings. This is session number 163. And tonight we are returning to Saruman's great oratorical performance, his attempt to persuade Gandalf. If indeed that is exactly his intent, as we will discuss later today. But I'm excited to get back into things. Thanks, everybody, for joining me here today. I know, of course, there's nothing else you had to do tonight, and since there's nothing else much going on. Wait, let me say that again. There's nothing much going on, so you can just sit back and pay attention to something really important which impacts all of our lives in a deep and profound way, such as Saruman and Gandalf's discussion. So here we go. Let's just jump straight into. I'm not even doing announcements for fear of pointing to something outside of class. We're here. So this is what we're talking about. All right. We're not going to redo this, but this is the slide from last time, which I kept at the front here today because I wanted to have it here to refer to, because I wanted to kind of jump back and forth. So looking at sort of the shape of things here, right? Remember, we had because I want to make sure that we're seeing the overall trajectory of Saruman's approach, because that strikes me as really important here. Even though we haven't discussed the whole thing from the beginning, I think that's going to be pretty important. So we begin with his declamation, right? The elder days are gone, the middle days are passing, and we were seeing all of the red flags that he's throwing up throughout that, right? As we discussed last time. And then he deliberately adopts a different posture, right? Different tone of voice, different body posture, approaching him physically, right? To come nearer and speak in a softer voice, as if conspiratorially, though they're alone and nobody can overhear them, right? So, listen, Gandalf, my old friend and helper. One of the questions I was asking last time was whether he slips up there. We were talking about that. I still kind of think that he did. This then is one choice before us. I think might well be a slip up on his part there. But we spent a lot of time last time also talking about the really intriguingly ambiguous way in which Saruman talks about. I just realized I don't need these right now. The ambiguous way in which Saruman talks about the power, right? Whether he's not naming Sauron because that would be, a little bit aggressive, right? Hey, let's join Sauron. Doesn't that sound like a good idea? But he's also depersonalizing him, which seems like a bit of an insult, speaking of him almost more like a natural resource to be sort of tapped rather than an ally to be joined exactly. And then that implication, we were kind of talking about how he's not necessarily just saying straight out, I am the power that is rising, but he is kind of leaving it open, right? There could be there's some uncertainty, right, about exactly who the power should be. And that's the sort of, in my view, the final effect of his depersonalization of the power here, right? Because he's not talking about, let's join Sauron. That would imply a kind of loyalty to Sauron himself. Like, Sauron is a great guy. I think we should totally throw in with him because he's awesome. And that's not in any way, at any point, and for any reason, what Saruman is saying, right? So it does leave it open such that if the power that is growing should basically come around to him instead of to Sauron, that things would almost all the things that he says would be related to him. And then, of course, we looked at one of the most famous and overt not discussions exactly, but sort of statements of the whole subjugating the means to the ends, not discounting the means so long as the proper ends are achieved, and some of the implications of that last time. So that's where we were, just to sum up the first part of his speech and what we were seeing there. And I may end up wanting to come back to refer back to some other things here, but Let's go on. Saruman, I said, and this is Gandalf responding, I have heard speeches of this kind before, but only in the mouths of emissaries sent from Mordor to deceive the ignorant. I cannot think that you brought me so far only to weary my ears. He looked at me sidelong and paused a while, considering. Well, I see that this wise course does not commend itself to you, he said. Not yet. Not if some better way can be contrived. He came and laid his long hand on my arm. And why not, Gandalf? He whispered. Why not? The ruling ring. If we could command that, then the power would pass to us. That is in truth why I brought you here. For I have many eyes in my service, and I believe that you know where this precious thing now lies. Is it not so? Or why do the Nine ask for the Shire? And what is your business there? As he said this, a lust which he could not conceal shone suddenly in his eyes. Okay, so much here. Okay, all right. First, Gandalf's response, right? Gandalf is in no real danger of being convinced, and I cannot think that Saruman intended it, right? What does he expect? This is one of the first questions that I have here. And Gandalf's response seems to me to kind of challenge this question, right? My question is, what does Saruman expect? Did he really think there was not just a good chance, but literally any chance that Gandalf's response to that speech was going to be, you know what? You're right. Let's join Sauron. That would be much wiser. Yeah, I hadn't really thought about it that way before, but, now that you've pointed out that he's likely to win, because, I never knew. I thought, we were winning all this time. I was under the impression that he was just, he was as tame as a rabbit over there, and we were just, oh man, no, you're right. He is likely to win, and so it would be prudent for us to join him, so yeah, let's do that. Right? I mean, seriously, there is no way that Gandalf is going to say yes to that, right? I can't really think that the argument that he's been making is intended in that way, to convince Gandalf, to talk him over to Saruman's side. And indeed, Gandalf's response, I have heard speeches of this kind before, but only in the mouths of emissaries sent from Mordor to deceive the ignorant. Now, let's pause there for a second. Chaosteer, I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce your handle there, was saying, when did Gandalf hear such speeches before? Exactly. That's, I don't know the answer to that exactly, of course. We don't get any references to that. The one thing, of course, the first thing that it makes me think of, though, remember that Frodo, in the beginning of chapter 2, when we hear about the sort of hiatus, right? The 17-year hiatus, when we pass over the 17-year hiatus after Bilbo's party and before Gandalf's return, for the parlor conversation, the big one, Frodo hears about Mordor, right? People are talking about Mordor. Now, I don't think that means that wandering emissaries from Mordor have been roaming about the Shire trying to deceive the ignorant, right? For one thing, if they'd been doing that, the Black Riders would have known right where it was, right? They could have sent somebody along as a guide to bring them there. So clearly that's not been happening, but yet the very fact that, the name is being noised about, right, suggests that people are talking about it, right? News on the one hand, but so merely like Sauron has declared himself, Sauron has returned to Mordor and declared himself. That's news that is so big that it even reaches the Shire, which takes some doing, all the way from Gondor and other places like it. In fact, I almost wonder, one of the things that I wonder is, could that news have been deliberately circulated to the Shire by the Dunedain? That it would dwarves would bring it through, probably, right? Because dwarves would probably care about that. That would be news, even that would be news to the, like, the Dwarves of the Blue Mountains. The Dwarves of the Blue Mountains are really far away from Mordor, right? I mean, that can't be like their number one concern, but yet, like, Sauron was their enemy of old, so, you know, it's something that's bound to be significant even there. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. Emily asks, had Sauron ever made any attempts to discuss matters with Elrond or Galadriel? And you mean, like, sit down and talk things out? You know, like, I don't think so. I mean, not since not since the Anatar time, basically. I don't think. Yeah. Right, good. Balancmond is thinking about the emissary who goes to the Lonely Mountain, right? That's the one example of an actual emissary sent from Mordor. To deceive the ignorant is a little harsh, right? Like, you mean like King Dan? You know, probably not. Is it possible? Right. Aranas is wondering if, you know, as in Kanus in the south, Gandalf has heard some of the emissaries of Sauron sent out to deceive the ignorant. And Aranas, you know, I had never thought about it that way, but that certainly seems possible. I mean, look, the fact is there are just not very many if you think about, just like, look at the map, right? Look at the map. I mean, here, look, we've got a map. I'll do the map. Look at the map of Middle-earth here, right? So you're Sauron. You've set up in Mordor. And the Lotro map is kind of pretty, you have to admit. So you're in Mordor, and you're declaring yourself, which means you're launching a public, a PR campaign, right, from Mordor. And your PR campaign has a couple different goals, right? One goal of your PR campaign is recruitment from those who had been your allies, right? Those who might flock back and, you know, worship you again because you're an ancestral god of their people, for instance. Like, yeah, you want to broadcast to them that you're back and expecting fealty, right? You know, line up to come and worship, and P.S. bring your armies, right? So, sure, you want to be sending those messages down around east and south, especially from Mordor, right? There are some folks who, you know, might be kind of on the fence, potentially, that you would want to send. This is presumably why the emissary went to the Lonely Mountain and to Dale, right? Because they're a little bit, you know, they're kind of leaning in one direction, but it's not obvious where they'll be, or at the very least they could maybe be convinced or, you know, deceived into, like, staying neutral at the very least and not coming in to join in, you know, on the side of Sauron's enemies. So that's worth a shot, right? But who else is there? Who else on this map is? He's not sending emissaries to Gondor trying to deceive them, right? That ship has sailed. He doesn't send emissaries to Rohan, right? Horse thieves, yes. Emissaries, no. Is he going to send emissaries anywhere to the west of the Misty Mountains? I can't imagine that he is, right? That's really far. And anyway, to whom? There's, like, no nations of people. What's, like, the Breelanders? I mean, like, the people who live in these 5 villages? And presumably there are other, like, clusters of villages around places that aren't really mentioned. You know, but there aren't, like, nations over there. There's no large bodies of people. There's no one to whom Sauron would send an emissary, exactly, that I can think of over there, right? So the more I think about this, Aranas, the more I'm coming around to your sort of way of thinking there, that most likely, where he is most likely to send emissaries is south. Like, I mean, because it's not a given. He's been away some time, right? Like many generations of men. So, you know, the folks in Rune and Khand and Harad and Umbar, it's not a given. Right? It's not a given. I mean, even if, like, folks of Umbar are traditionally no friends of Gondor, of course, but that doesn't say they're automatically going to throw in and be recruited to Mordor's armies. Because remember, not only Remember what that means. And this, I'm sorry, here I'm thinking of a passage we were just discussing in the last session of my Morgoth's Ring class, which that should all be on YouTube now, if you guys wanted to look at that. It's long. We talked for some time about Morgoth's Ring. It's like a 28 session class, like 56 hours. But anyway, it's in the very last session, we were talking about some of the last passages at the end of Myths Transformed. And one of the things that we were doing, one of the things that we were looking at was when Tolkien was thinking about what Sauron had to do in order to bring the Easterlings, like the men, into his armies, basically. That it's a non-trivial thing to get men to just like march into battle side by side with orcs. Like, that's kind of a big deal. It's not enough just to be like, hey, you hate Gondor too, right? Okay, well, join in with me, right? Why not? We'll give you the edge. Like, it takes a certain amount of domination of will and corruption of, morals and things to get a culture, an army, an individual person to the point where they're going to walk in beside orcs and be like, you know what? I think these guys are the good guys. Like, I think if these orcs win right here, it's going to be great. I totally support that, right? That's really what I want to see. So I'm going to throw my weight behind that and sacrifice my life in order to, potentially in order to try to help the orcs win here on this battlefield. Like, that's a non-trivial step to ask men to take. So he's got some work to do, right? He's definitely got some work to do. Okay. So, he would certainly have emissaries to send out. So Arnas, I like that idea. I like the idea that where Gandalf is referring, that he has heard emissaries, or at least like indirectly heard, right? I mean, he's heard the emissaries themselves, or he's, heard reported to him what the emissaries of Sauron are saying. He says that he's heard them, right? That he's only heard speeches like this from emissaries sent from Mordor. So I would think we could probably take that at face value. And we know that he has traveled in the south enough to have a name, right? Which is... Yeah, so Chaos Deer, it's tricky. So Chaos Deer says, I thought Sauron subjugated the men of the east and south. I thought they were not serving of their own free will. Well, that's exactly the trick there, right? I mean, yeah, but like, what does that mean? Not of their own free will, meaning they are under, all of them, under mental domination individually. Like, he is overriding the wills and free choices of every member of those armies, every human member of those armies. That's a feat. Right, even for Sauron, that would be a very significant feat, and I don't think I don't think he's capable of doing that. Even though Tolkien praises Sauron for his, says that Sauron is really quite good at dominating the wills of people. Like, he's better at that. He has better control over his orcs, Tolkien says, than Morgoth did back in the first stage. So he's especially good at the dominating of folks. But humans are a totally different bag. He can't just dominate them in the same way. Certainly not in bulk and from a distance like that. So no, that's not possible. Which means they have to be marching, like each individual soldier has to be marching by his own free will, right? So he has to, now he can subjugate them, like sort of politically, right? If he can get their leaders to swear, loyalty to Mordor in some way or other, right? And then those leaders get the people to go, right? And get the armies to march. Presumably that's how it happens. But again, even there's still work to be done when you've got you're like blue collar soldiers there in the line, right? Lining up with the orcs and being like, are we okay with it? Anyway, I'm just saying, this was a big PR campaign, right? There's a lot of work to be done there. This is not automatic, right? You can't just, he doesn't just set himself up in Mordor and automatically have an empire at his disposal. There's work to be done. Yeah, exactly. Green Great Dragon is recalling, of course, Sam's musing about the dead Haradrim, who tumbles down into the the little dale where they're hiding there. Absolutely, he wonders about that, right? And I think, Sam wonders about that. I mean, Tolkien brings that up, right? He invites us as readers to wonder this along with Sam. We don't often get asked to do that in the course of the book, right? Sauron's armies, in general, are treated as kind of monolithic, right? We're just sort of led to understand them as they're arrayed against Gondor. But they've been manipulated. It's clear that they've been manipulated in certain ways. And it is even clearer that on an individual level, right, from like a soldier by soldier level, there may still be sort of questions here. Anyway, again, I'm not saying that I find it hard to believe that Sauron can recruit these armies. I don't find that hard to believe. I'm just saying it's not going to happen automatically. It's going to take some work. And so it does seem, so again, Arnas, I had never thought of that before. This, of course, is one of the delights of exploring the Lord of the Rings. A sentence that I had always just I'd always rolled past that sentence my whole life before. I have heard speeches of this kind before, but only in the mouths of emissaries sent from Mordor to deceive the ignorant. Where? I really do think, because I agree with somebody was saying just a little bit earlier on, that when we were talking about the Lonely Mountain, of course, what Saruman had just said, and what Gandalf was just alluding to as something that like something he has heard before, is not very like what the emissary that is sent to Dan says, right? So that seems to be a different kind of thing. But I can easily see. Again, if we go back for a second to some of like Sauron's selling points, right? A new power is rising. We may join with that power. There is hope that way. Its victory is at hand, and there will be rich reward for those that aided it. Can I see emissaries sent to Umbar, Harad, Khand, Rhûn, saying things like that? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I would think that's, they'd say other things too, presumably. Again, like, the mighty god Sauron, whom we worshipped of old, has returned, and that kind of thing. And Saruman's not going to lead with that. But yeah, I mean, a lot of these things, as the power grows, its proved friends will also grow. Yeah, I mean, that's I would think quite like some of the recruitment stuff that Sauron would have been putting on in the south and east. Look, we don't have any idea. When Gandalf was in the south, how often he went to the south, how much time he spent in the south. We don't know any of those things, right? All we know is that he did definitely go to the south, and enough to have a name there, a name which is broadly known, like not just in a spot, right, or even in a nation, but in the south, just as he's known as Gandalf in the north, right? Like Eriador, basically, roughly. From the Shire to the Lonely Mountain, in that part of the continent, he's known as Gandalf, and the part, where he is known as in Canus is referred to in exactly the same terms. Is it as wide, right? Is he known as much? We don't know, and don't have any reason to really suspect one way or the other. But I find many people seem to be kind of resistant to this idea of Gandalf being in the south and Gandalf knowing Harad. I don't see why. We know that Gandalf, even just thinking back to the discussions we've had over the last couple weeks, right, as we've been trying to figure out what the job description of the Grey Wizard is, right, what it means to be Gandalf the Grey, and what is clear is roaming about and minding everybody's business is kind of his job, right, as far as we can tell. Becoming the friend and encourager and supporter of people, just as Radagast is of beasts and birds, seems, as far as we can tell, to be his thing, right? That seems to be his bag. If he has spent this time and attached himself to the hobbits of the Shire, right? An obscure branch of knowledge, hobbit lore, right? Why would we think? He's had time, plenty of time, right? To attach himself to an equal degree to like some village or, area, down in Harad. He doesn't go in the east, right? He said he's on record as not going into the east, but he's equally on record as definitely going to the south. Exactly. The Shire might be one of his specialties, JJ, I agree, but it's not his only study, at all. Yeah. Now, Chaos Deer is saying, what lies east if it is the only place he doesn't go? Well, see, that's what the blue guys do, right? They've got another job. You can tell on account of they have a different color, but they both have the same job, right? They're in the same. It's just like, when you've got like one English department that has like two, 20th century Brit folks or whatever, right? There are two blue wizards, right? So they both have the same kind of field of study, whatever it is, and they're both out in the east. So whatever they're doing in the east, that's not Gandalf's job because he's the gray, he's not the blue, right? But what he's doing in the south seems to be part of what he's up to. So yeah, no, I find that I think Arnaus, that's going to be my new headcanon that I'm going to imagine, because I can't think of any other thing that he could really be referring to. Where else would he possibly have heard emissaries sent from Mordor who are saying things like that? Where else is he recruiting? In the streets, essentially. That's yeah. Now, Carrie the One is speculating that the blue guys don't seem to be doing much. Well, maybe they are, right? That's for all we know. That's, of course, the classic argument, right? And this is why, I don't want to sidetrack on this too far, of course, but obviously there are two different outcomes, right, for the blue wizard that Tolkien seems to have speculated on. One where they were pretty much a failure, and the other one where they were not a failure and where they succeeded. And either one of them fits perfectly well with the facts, essentially, right? I mean, you can easily say, look at that. Oh yeah, they totally, like, if the blue wizards had done a half-decent job, then boy, Sauron would have called into the east in vain, right? And the war would have been a lot simpler. But you can just as easily say, oh yeah, no, if they hadn't done such a bang-up job over there in the east, then, whew, boy, like, Sauron's armies would have been 5 times bigger. And the west would have had no chance at all. And Frodo and Sam would have been, like, up to the armpits in Easterlings, like, on their way to Mount Doom. So, well, they would have been way up, I guess if the Easterlings were all kind of, like, lying down. But anyway, whatever. The point is, either route is, either option is potentially completely consistent with the details, especially since the East is such a it's a white space on the map, right? I mean, as far as we know, it's as large as all of the whole rest of Middle Earth put together, right? We have no idea. So, yeah. So, Bricktails, okay. Yes and no. Bricktails was saying they weren't even necessarily primarily sent to fight Sauron. They could have other missions. Yes, in a sense. So to oppose Sauron is why, to be a kind of, not counterbalancing, that's probably not the right metaphor, but to try to counteract Sauron is why the Astari were sent, like all of them, right? That's kind of the overarching sort of mission statement of the Astari, right, is to oppose Sauron. But you've got the White Wizard who's got a particular job here, right? He's got a different job about that. And the Grey Wizard has a different job. So that's not to say that they have no other concerns, that they're like 100% Sauron all the time, right? That like they can't be interested in anything else and they don't ever do anything else. Again, not saying that, or that there's any reason for us to think or suspect that. So like, for instance, if Radagast does some good with birds and beasts, like on their own, like not even just like recruiting birds and beasts in order to be part of the anti-Sauron efforts. Like, I don't even mean that, right? But even if they just, if he does some good in the world of birds and beasts, that would probably be, you know, but if that is like part of his charter, as it were, you know, part of his job description, it would be sort of a secondary one, right? Like Gandalf wasn't sent in order to light off fireworks for hobbits, you know, at old hobbits' birthdays. But he, like, it sort of fits with what he's doing, right? It's part of what he's doing. It's consistent with his calling as a whole. Yeah. So Evil Dr. Canon, almost all of this is retcon. Of course, I am wandering past what we know in the Lord of the Rings and saying these things, because, you know, almost all of the Astari stuff is retcon after the fact. I mean, goodness, he was still figuring out, until pretty late in the game, the Witch King, who was called the Wizard King almost all the way through, was still like pretty much meant to be a wizard who had gone to the bad, right? Remember that was originally, that was the implication of the Necromancer in The Hobbit as well, that he was a rogue wizard, basically, whom the rest of the White Council of Wizards got together and put down, right? Because he was one of their number who had gone to the bad. Tolkien did not abandon that idea for a long time of a wizard who went to the bad. Indeed, he never abandoned it, right? It shifted from the Necromancer to the Wizard King, right? Sauron's chief lieutenant, and then shifted away from the Witch King to Saruman, ultimately, right? Saruman kind of took up that mantle. Yeah, exactly. Matt says, other duties as assigned covers a lot of territory for academics and perhaps for wizards too. Yes, other duties as assigned. So yeah, there would definitely be other things. Definitely. Link and I agree. I also prefer the version where the other wizards didn't all fail. But yeah. Oh, and absolutely. Yeah. No question. Tolkien has no idea. The blue wizards are not blue until later on. Like, that's not, I mean, he didn't even know how many there were until Gandalf opened his mouth and said that. This was always happening to Tolkien, right? Normally he's writing dialogue and his characters are talking, and then he like comes to the end of a speech and is like, who knew? Right? So like when Gandalf, or, you know, when Saruman says the rods of the 5 wizards, that's when there became 5 wizards, because Saruman said it. And once Saruman said it, it was true. But yeah, there was that's the moment when the number of the wizards shall be 5. Yeah, anyway. Okay. But let me veer back as I've wandered a little bit far afield here. So, okay. Mouths of Emissary sent from Mordor to deceive the ignorant. Now, there are 2 things that Gandalf accomplishes here, right? One, I want to think about sort of both halves of that statement, right? That is, the Mouths of Emissary sent from Mordor and deceive the ignorant. He's saying on the one hand, like, dude, what do you take me for? Why are you giving me this speech that would only fool somebody who had no idea what was going on, right? A speech which would only take in somebody who didn't even know who Sauron was. I mean, I'm not that stupid. You're not that stupid. Why are we doing this? Right? I cannot think that you brought me so far only to weary my ears. So on the one hand, it's sort of a rebuke, but a kind of probing rebuke in a sense, right? He's like, this doesn't even make any sense, right? The other, of course, is like, yeah, I'm going to say straight out what you've been ducking, right? You have not said Mordor or Sauron at any point in your opening speech, right? So I'm going to kind of call a spade here and say emissary sent from Mordor, right? So again, the 2 parts, deceive the ignorant and sent from Mordor. So what, are you like Sauron's, lick spittle now? Is that what's going on here? Right? You're what? Practicing on me, the little speech that you're planning to give on behalf of Sauron to like villagers in Eriador or something? Like, so it's kind of a double insult that he's giving. Because exactly, Mike, I mean, the kind of the implied insult there is like, you weren't ignorant enough to be taken in by this, I hope, right? I mean, surely, yeah. Yeah, Freebird says, do you hear the words coming out of your own mouth? Yeah, but this is what leads me then to, so I want to return to the question, what is Saruman's intention here? Because when looking at Gandalf's response especially, I cannot think that Saruman believed that there is any indication, like that there is any chance that that Gandalf is just gonna become convinced. This is that he's gonna win a convert from that speech. And if not, what is he doing? Because the one thing that I am unwilling, or I'm very, very hesitant to do, is to imagine that Saruman is bad at this. This is what he's good at, right? This is Saruman persuading somebody. This is his strength. This is Saruman's A game, right? And this is a really important occasion. So that Saruman would not only fail to convince Gandalf, but put on an embarrassing show. It doesn't fit. It doesn't work. It doesn't fit with everything that Gandalf himself tells us. And the next line is what I find most interesting about this. He looked at me sidelong and paused a while considering. Now, what do you think Saruman is considering exactly? What is Saruman assessing? It seems to me like he's looking at him sidelong, right? He's trying to read Gandalf's reaction, trying to gauge the effect of his speech, potentially, I think. He seems to be observing Gandalf carefully and to be stopping to kind of parse the significance of what he's observing, right? Well, I see that this wise course does not commend itself to you. Not yet. Not if some better way can be contrived. Now, one thing that I am willing to believe of Saruman is that he is, so I think that it does, some people were talking about, let me see, just a second ago, yeah, Freebird was just saying, I think Saruman is a narcissist who believes he's uncovered the truth. He's laying it out, not lying. Yeah, I'm definitely, I'm definitely very willing to believe that Saruman is narcissistic and that he is able to convince himself of things and therefore believe that other people will believe them. Like this, that concept I can believe, but I do not think that would lead him to put on such a poor show of persuasion when that's his main thing. Now, this I like. Emily, that's a wonderful suggestion. Emily says he does have a ring, right? And we talked about his ring, which I suspect and believe to be a ring of power. His ring of power that he made. He calls himself Ringmaker, and then he's wearing a ring. And we talked about what could its power be, right? What would he do? And one of our leading suspicions was that he's trying to use it to augment his biggest and favorite power, which is the power of persuasion. So Emily's saying maybe he's testing its abilities. Maybe that sidelong look is a, like, like the scientist's note on the effects on a live subject, right? First test on live subject appears to be of dubious success. But Anyway, so, or as Valori says, is this thing on? Yeah, possibly. Yeah. So no, I think, but Freebeard, I think if his narcissism were of such a kind that it simply like undermines his ability to persuade like anybody of anything, it doesn't fit. It doesn't work. We know that his persuasiveness is good. His persuasiveness works. It comes very close to working with the whole crowd of people that come to his tower, right? Gandalf is perhaps in no danger at that point, but others are. And they're only saved sort of by circumstances, as we'll see when we get there pretty soon. But what I'm thinking, though, the thing that I don't want to lose in, remembering forward to that scene, his words are very powerful. He is able to persuade. He does have potency still. And I don't think that if we understand him as already being essentially kind of having lost his greatest ability, his power will be undermined by his own narcissism, his own evil, basically, right? The route that he has taken is going to undermine him, but not totally and not right away, I think. Yeah. JJ says, disclaimer, pretty soon in Signum's speech means within the lifetime of at least some of the people in attendance. Exactly. That is, I agree. That's a pretty good definition. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Well, I see that this wise course does not commend itself to you. Not yet. Not if some better way can be contrived. Now, here's the thing that I do readily believe of Saruman, and a thing that is a weakness and that does undermine him. And it's the same thing that undermines Sauron later on. And that is that tendency, Gandalf is going to talk about this later, that tendency to judge all things by your own frame of reference, right? That Saruman definitely does have, and I think that he's showing it here, right? He sees that Gandalf is resistant, right? He sees Gandalf is not going to be convinced by this. If he were resisting this argument, why would he resist it? On what basis would he resist it, right? If he had just said no to himself, what would he be thinking, right? And the answer is, there's no way I'm going to do that. And the reason I'm not going to do that, the reason that it would be insane for us to join with Sauron, is that there might still be some other better and more expedient ways towards victory than that, right? And that's what he seems to suspect Gandalf of saying. Not yet, not if some better way can be contrived. Put yourself in Saruman's position. When Gandalf shows up, what has to be the first question on Saruman's mind? I think for this whole conversation, there has been one unasked question that he has wanted to know the answer to from the moment Gandalf showed up. Aranas, exactly. I don't think it is even, do you know where the ring is? Are you wielding the Ring of Power? Do you have it? Have you claimed it? That has to be his primary question, right? He believes that the ring has been found. He believes he's put this together. He's put this together since the 9 have been abroad, right? Why did the 9 ask for the Shire, and what is your business there? He's known for a while that the One Ring is in circulation. He was lying to the White Council, right? Deliberately. He was attempting to set them off the trail, and he invested all of the the sort of the resources that he had gotten, all of his reputation, right? He invested everything from his reputation on the premise that, don't worry, the ring is not in circulation anymore, right? So that they would believe that, in order to keep them from searching, because he knew it was around, because he was looking for it himself. Okay, fine. He knows the ruling ring is around. He suspects, he believes that Gandalf has the ring. That, I think, is fairly clear. And I think this is what he's probing, right? He's not just going to come out and ask that. He's not going to lead with that question, but he's trying to figure that out. I see that this wise course does not commend itself to you. Not yet. Not if some better way can be contrived, he says. Still looking at Gandalf sidelong, still watching his reactions. How's Gandalf going to... Is there going to be any tell from Gandalf, right? Some other better way can be contrived? Is Gandalf spurning the idea of fighting alongside Sauron because he already has a new plan A, right? That he is setting himself up. He's going to use Sauron's ring against him, as is the obvious thing to do. That's what somebody like Gandalf could be expected to do, right? I mean, if Gandalf finds it, surely he's going to be all like, yeah, we can fight Sauron with this, right? Because he's a simp, but whatever, right? But surely that's what he's going to do. You know, again, like with Sauron, that Gandalf's thinking and approach to the ring would be wholly different from Saruman's own, does not seem to have entered into Saruman's thinking. That Gandalf would find the ring and yet not take it. Not even to protect it, right? I mean, there's no way Saruman would ever have done that. Left it in the hands of a hobbit back in the Shire, right? I mean, even if Saruman... I mean, that's like so far down the list of possibilities of what Saruman do with it. I think that he literally can't imagine it. And like Leobot, you're completely right. That's not wise. It's not. That's why it would seem like a completely foolish thing to do, right? So he has reason to believe that Gandalf has found the ring, and he knows what he would do. And even trying to judge Gandalf by what he knows of Gandalf, right? Surely the minimum that he would do, right? Most likely, if Gandalf finds the ring, he's going to claim it for himself. Who wouldn't, right? And then he's going to fight Sauron with it, and try to be all like minding somebody else's business. So at the very least, he's going to be like totally moving in on his white wizard shtick. And what's worse than that, because of course Saruman is like moved beyond the whole whiteness thing anyway, he's going to be, remember Saruman is like Saruman of many colors, right? He's the one who is like the consummation of all wizarddom, right? He's the master of all fields of inquiry, the master of all lore and of all power. Obviously, having a rival like Gandalf the Grey, supercharged by Sauron's ring, would be not good, right? So that's going to be a problem all by itself. But whatever. Gandalf would do this in order to attack Sauron. Or maybe Gandalf, because he's kind of inscrutable, Gandalf, he's different. Saruman knows that he's different. Maybe, just maybe, he's protecting it. Maybe he's not going to claim it himself. Maybe he's going to be all like, oh, to use the ring of the enemy against him would be a really bad idea. So he's probably going to be too squeamish to seize power himself because he's Gandalf, right? But obviously he's going to be protecting it. So maybe he's holding it, right? Maybe he's got it on him. Maybe what have you got in your pocket, Gandalf? I guess that's really the question that's been what has it got in its pockets has been the question that's been on Saruman's mind ever since he came in. But yeah, conceivably, I bet that Saruman can imagine Gandalf doing that, right? Holding on to the ring to keep it safe. And what is Gandalf's plan with the ring? Now, again, if we go back for a second. Think about this first speech again. Think about this first speech again if you're uttering it, and in uttering it, you believe that the person you're uttering it to has the ring of power in his pocket. Right? See how this sounds a little bit different now? The time of the elves is over, but our time is at hand. The world of men which we must rule, but we must have power. Power to order all things as we will, for that good which only the wise can see. It's like he's anticipating. He knows Gandalf is going to be all squeamish, right? You know, if he can get Gandalf to confess that he's got the ring of power, which he's hoping he can bring Gandalf to that point, right? Gandalf is still going to be all like, no, we mustn't use it. And he's going to be, so he's setting up like, come on, man, like, come on, look at the big picture. Look at the big picture. We have to have power in order to bring about our high and ultimate purpose. And then if we think about that from this perspective, that second paragraph, the one which sounds like a recruitment speech in the mouth of an emissary of Sauron sent out to deceive the ignorant, that speech all of a sudden sounds different now, right? He's saying a new power is rising again. Now that vagueness begins to take on yet another kind of new dimension, right? That new power doesn't have to be Sauron. Remember, we were talking about how striking that sentence is. A new power is rising, right? Sauron's not new, okay? I mean, yeah, okay, like Sauron Mark III or whatever that's rising now is newish, right? Newly released, newly, he's got new digs, it's sure, he's like new-ish, but who would call Sauron a new power? It doesn't even really make sense. Exactly. But if he's not referring to Sauron, but again, he kind of is. I think it's a really, really careful speech, right? It does sound like a recruitment speech. But again, I don't think it's meant to persuade Gandalf to be like, I agree, let's go join Sauron. Instead, I think it's establishing a kind of foil, right? Where he is sort of saying, look, let's look at the options here, right? There's fight against Sauron with our own resources. Dumb, right? There's join with Sauron. Distasteful at best, right? What are the other options, right? I bet you're going to say no, right? I bet you don't want to join with Sauron. Me neither. But let's consider what other options there are. Gandalf is going to be like, we can't use the ring, we have to hide it, we have to protect it, or whatever, and Saruman is going to convince him, we have to use it. We have to use it. It's the only way that we can win. And if we use, then we will be the new power that arises. There is no hope left in elves or dying Numenor. Those things that he's saying in what sounds like a Sauron recruitment speech, and is a Sauron recruitment speech, also have this other dimension, right? No, there's no hope left in elves or dying Numenor. But the new powers will sweep all that aside, right? We may join with that power. The ring, right? We can become that power. So as he's throwing this out, how is Gandalf responding? Because he can figure this out, right? From Gandalf's response. I think it seems to me, and tell me if you guys can think of any other reading of this, but I can only, I believe that Saruman thinks that Gandalf has the ring. And given that he has the ring, I think there's only one of two states that Gandalf could be in, as far as Saruman is concerned, right? Saruman believes that Gandalf must be in one of two states. Either he possesses the ring, but is still abjuring it, right? Just keeping it and not to protect it and hide it and not to use it. He's not taken it up and claimed it for his own. Or he has. One or the other, right? I mean, those are, I suspect, in Saruman's mind, the only two options. So I suspect that everything he's been saying to this point has been an attempt to probe Gandalf to try to figure out which state Gandalf is in. Have you claimed the ring, or have you not claimed the ring? That's why he's looking at him sidelong, right? Trying to parse Gandalf's response. I cannot think you brought me here, you brought me so far only to weary my ears. What does that suggest? Is that consistent with a new ring lord? The arrogance of a new ring lord? Has he taken the power to himself? Does he think this is all beneath him and a waste of his time? For that reason? Or is this just because he's still in his like goody-goody, perspective, and he's like, we have to protect the ring. And so, he's, yeah. Right. Now the third option is that he's hidden in the Shire. Of course, that's the actual option. I guess conceivably he could have himself established some kind of, like he's buried it or something, and like put spells over it or whatever, like whatever Sauron did with his ring when he went to Numenor. Yeah. Fourth option, he's on his way to the ocean to make Sauron's prior claims be true. He's going the long way around. In that case, sorry, he's gone pretty far inland on his way to the sea. Yeah. And Druid's Fire, I agree with you. Saruman is very wise in ring lore, so he would know that or at least he would know that Gandalf would be hard to overcome if Gandalf had claimed the ring. His only hope. Look at that. It did die. Okay, it's back now. Weird. Interesting. Okay. It seems to be back now. I'm seeing the green light. Yeah, you might have to restart Twitch. There. Okay. Sorry. Okay. So what was the last thing? What was the last thing y'all heard? I was talking about bringing a gun to a gunfight. I was talking about Saruman suspecting if Gandalf has the ring, he's probably going to have to fight him. And so it's maybe one of the reason that he's buffed himself up with the ring of power of his own, because he knows he's going to have to go up against Gandalf bearing the ring, right? And perhaps Gandalf has even come to Orthanc in order to take Saruman out, right? Or displace him or seize his own power, or whatever. So that, anyway, that seems to be one very live possibility, that he's got a question. And I'm wondering if he's thinking that that's more likely, given Gandalf's first response. But anyway, he does think a lot of himself anyway, so I suspect maybe he would think that he would have a chance against, because he's so much more powerful than Gandalf in the first place, right? He's the wizard of all the colors after all. But again, so I think this wise course does not commend itself to you. Not yet. Not if some better way can be contrived. And I think what his previous speech, I think, was all a setup. I think it was all a setup for this point. I don't think he ever suspected or intended to convince Gandalf with his earlier argument. I think he was testing Gandalf's reactions to see what he would give away. What does he know of the ring? Does he have the ring with him? Has he claimed it for himself? But I agree anyway that there is definitely an argument to convince Gandalf to give him the ring. I bet that he would believe that would be quite possible, actually, for him to convince Gandalf of that. Because again, Gandalf's pretty naive, right? He's not nearly as wise as Saruman the Wise. He might not be quite as big a fool as Radagast, but I suspect that Saruman believes Gandalf to be on the Radagast side of the spectrum, So as far as the wisdom folly spectrum in his view, not if some better way can be contrived. He came and laid his long hand on my arm, And why not, Gandalf, he whispered. Why not the ruling ring? If we could command that, then the power would pass to us. Again, that I think is what he was setting up all along. That's why he was talking about capital P power, right? The power would be ours. Then all those things that I said would be true of us. If we could command that. Now, why does he say we? Right? Why does he say we? Because he thinks that Gandalf has it. He needs collaboration here. He needs Gandalf's cooperation. Obviously, if he had the ring or had information about the ring, he wouldn't be coming to Gandalf for collaboration, right? But he's trying to convince this is the real argument. If we could command that, then the power would pass to us. That is in truth why I brought you here. For I have many eyes in my service, and I believe that you know where this precious thing now lies. Is it not so? Or why do the 9 ask for the Shire, and what is your business there? He's saying, look, the jig is up, right? I know you know about the ring. I have come to the conclusion that you have found the ring. I believe you know where this precious thing now lies. And it is before me, isn't it? Right? I really think that he thinks that that Gandalf has it. Yeah, he does want to say me, but it has to be we for now. Exactly. Now, Corey Schraub is wondering, what if rather Saruman thinks it would be wise of Gandalf to give Saruman the ring? I'm sure he does. No question, right? Look, there are parts of his earlier speech that I totally believe. I believe him about the high and ultimate purpose, knowledge, rule, order, right? I believe that he believes that the course that he is setting out upon is one in which their ends will not change, only their means. But the means in question aren't really allying with Sauron, right? The means in question is finding Sauron's ring and using it. That's Saruman's whole gambit. That's the whole point. That's the whole plan, right? His whole plan is to find the ring of power, use it to defeat Sauron, because he's a rival in any case, right? No matter what, defeating Sauron, putting down Sauron is going to be a good idea if you're going to set up for yourself here, right? So, anyway, so yeah. Yeah. Okay. That is in truth why I brought you here. Yeah. But anyway, yeah. So Corey, yeah, thank you, for your, second comment there. Yes, Gandalf, it would be wisest, right? Again, there's no change in his ends, only in his means. There was my train of thought again. Okay. I bet you that he believes that. He genuinely believes. He genuinely believes that what he's doing is totally the right thing to do, right? Right in the sense of being the most expedient means to the proper ends. I mean, what are their choices? Let Sauron win? Or what's plan B? Sauron's going to win, right? So just like holding out until the end and going down with the ship while Sauron takes over the continent, okay. Where are the odds there, right? I mean, like, where's the good outcome there? But if you can kind of stand aside, so like there are a couple other options. One is to kind of, temporize with Sauron and try to, do the thing like he describes, try to guide it and sort of whatever. But again, that's not going to win. What does he want there? No, that's not what he wants, right? The real move is to fight him in the only way that has any prospect of victory, and that is getting the ring. So yeah, Corey, absolutely. And who has the best ability to do that? Well, humbly, I believe I'm the best candidate for that position, Saruman suggests, right? I am Saruman Ringmaker. After all, this is my area of expertise. So my crowning achievement as White Wizard is to take the Ring of Power to myself, and thereby, of course, I'll be becoming much more than just Saruman the White. And then I can take out Sauron, and then all of our ends are achievable and everything's good, right? So he absolutely would think it was wisest to do that kind of thing. So yes, absolutely, Belongspond, I agree. Destroying the ring must never have crossed Saruman's mind. I agree. Not even briefly. It's hard to imagine that he's ever had even a brief thought of destroying the ring. Nor a thought. I can't imagine that he really believes. When he says, I believe that you know where this precious thing now lies. I don't think that he is suspecting that Gandalf left it in the Shire. I really don't. I think that he's speaking euphemistically there. Like, come clean, Gandalf. You have it, don't you? Unless maybe Gandalf has only found a strong lead for it. Or, like, you know, maybe Gandalf hasn't completed the search. Maybe he's kind of narrowed it down. I mean, it's conceivable that Gandalf hasn't quite found it yet, and Saruman just wants the information from him. If that's, I'm just saying, I think that that is probably in Sauron's mind an active possibility, right? But that Gandalf would find the ring and just say to some hobbit, right? Oh yeah, hold this, I'll be back, right? That I can't imagine has really occurred to him. Yeah. Morrowind is wondering if maybe he thinks Gandalf gave it to Elrond or Galadriel. Well, yeah, again, by probing him, maybe. I mean, he would be trying to figure that out, in part. Yeah, it's true that where this precious thing now lies. Ooh, yeah, Morrowind, I hadn't thought about that, but the word now, I believe that you know where this precious thing now lies. In other words, not in the Shire anymore. Right? You found it in the Shire. But where is it now? Right? In your pocket? In Rivendell? In Lothlorien? Where? You know, at the Havens? Where? You know, there's a limited number of places where, you know, either you took it up, most probable, or you kept it and are trying to protect it, also very likely, or you gave it to one of the other elven wise, out of humility and self-sacrifice because you're a git. Also very possible, right? That he left it in the hands of a hobbit and took off, I really don't think. But yeah, Freebird, I do suspect that he can't fathom that one would let it go. So I would not think that of those three options, I would not think that Saruman... My guess is that Saruman believes that there's a very small chance that he's given it to somebody else, like Elrond or Galadriel. Not that so doing wouldn't be like Gandalf, but I think that he's studied the One Ring enough to know that it's not going to be trivial to give it up. But yes, of course, you guys are pointing out that, of course, we have a precious alert, right? He once again uses the word precious, as almost everybody does who talks about the ring. That's like the big tell word, right? And even Saruman uses it. I believe that you know where this precious thing now lies. The interesting thing, one interesting thing to see is not just to take that word for granted, but to see what it means to the people who say it exactly, right? When Isildur says it, uses the word precious, he seems to mean, I meant to take this thing as an heirloom. That is, I meant this to be like one of the crown jewels, essentially. Right? You know, this is just to be like a kind of a token that is supposed to be for, but it's become precious to him. Like, it means something to me personally now, right? I'm beginning to think, you know, it's a sign of kind of personal attachment to the ring. That I don't think is what we're seeing here. I think that he says, I believe that you know where this precious thing now lies. He is alluding to the fact of how valuable it is, not like in a personal and emotional way to him, but to their cause, right? To the, not just the opposing Sauron cause, because that's not the end, right? That's itself only a means to an end. The end, of course, is knowledge, rule, and order, which, of course, admittedly defeating Sauron would be a handy way to help establish knowledge, rule, and order, no question, right? But those are the real ends. Defeating Sauron is just a means. This is the greatest mean, right? It is very precious because it is the primary thing, perhaps the only thing, that will enable us to achieve the ends that we have, right? That we share, you and I, Gandalf. Michael Tobias and Biotron were asking about, is this a ring-induced monologue? No, I mean, so look, Saruman, has Saruman ever come within 100 miles of the Ring of Power? I'm not sure that he has, not sure that he has. That would actually be an interesting question. Of course, we don't know exactly where no. I mean, of course, he might have wandered past the Gladden fields at some point while the ring was still in the river. We can't rule that out. But barring that, I don't think we have any reason to think he's ever been in anything like proximity to the ring. So it's hard to see the ring itself inducing this monologue, but it's hardly surprising to see that the greed of someone who is, to use your word there, windswept, the greed of someone who has been long contemplating the ring and strongly desires to claim the ring for himself. It's not hard to believe that his mind would go in that sort of same direction. Well, see, Michael, I'm not sure. Michael says, I think it's important because it seems to be evidence for the ring being, or the influence being external from the ring as a will. But I don't think it necessarily has to be an influence, like some force acting on Saruman that's leading him in that direction. Michael, I wonder if we could similarly call it something like a symptom. I mean, it's a symptom of, it's like what going bad looks like, right? It's like, you're going bad if, that seems to me what everybody has in common. And that doesn't have to be, does that mean that the will of Melkor is corrupting them? No, not necessarily. A ring study induced monologue, Flemifer says, something like that, right? Yeah, it's he studied the ring academically enough that it has had it has had a wholly vicarious and theoretical influence on him. Interesting. Green Great Dragon is saying maybe he's trying to play to what he guesses Gandalf's ring-induced monologue might be. That's a really interesting theory. He probably has studied the ring enough to suspect about the existence of ring-induced monologues, right? To be able to see, even in Isildur's scroll, right, he would have seen the effect that it was having on Isildur already, right, after he had just gotten the ring. And I suspect he's wise enough to be able to figure out that that's a kind of phenomenon that could be expected to be repeated, right? That could be that Gandalf could be expected to have. Belongsmond is saying also the Palantir could possibly have given him some insight. It is true, Belongsmond, that he has some empirical evidence as well as his academic research, right? He also has the empirical evidence of what the will of Sauron is like, right? He's learned that on the business end. So he would therefore be able to sort of speculate as to what the power of the ring would be on people. So yeah, maybe. Going back to Green Great Dragon's point, maybe he is, if Gandalf either is holding it or has claimed it, there are certain patterns of thought that he, Gandalf, would probably be having, right? Maybe even he throws out the word precious, which he also would have read in Isildur's scroll. Maybe he throws out that word because he's trying to bait Gandalf. Is Gandalf going to perk up, at that word? Does Gandalf know, right? Is there something in this speech that's going to give, in Gandalf's response to this speech, that's going to give him away? Yeah. Why do the Nine ask for the Shire, and what is your business there? He brings this up, I believe, to point us as readers and also Gandalf himself towards his evidence, right? Look, whatever you say, don't try to snow me, Gandalf, right? Don't try to tell me that you have no idea what I'm talking about, right? And that you haven't found the ring. It's obvious you've found the ring. You have made the Shire your lurking place, right? You're skulking around the Shire doing something shady, and you can tell it's shady because I use the word lurking, right? You're lurking around the Shire, and now the Nazgul are going around, right? The Nazgul have orders straight from Mordor to seek the ring in the Shire. Come on. I can put two and two together, right? Yeah. Mike says Saruman is very clever. We have many sources, many usages to see that the word precious is important. He might be clever enough to see that the significance of that from only one source, from Isildur's. Yeah, I think that he would, between his, basically based on his studies, I think that he would be able to parse what was going on with Isildur there when Isildur wrote that, definitely. Yeah. As he said this, a lust which he could not conceal shone suddenly in his eyes. The interesting thing, the kind of irony, right, at the end of this passage, is that he is searching Gandalf, right? He's looking at Gandalf for tells, right? For any indications, for any hint as to what Gandalf's true thoughts and perspective and situation is. And it's he himself who gives the tell, right? Gandalf instead, by observing him, can tell what Saruman is up to and where Saruman is going. But now keep in mind, Saruman's not... I don't think that we're supposed to be thinking that Gandalf, in coming to this conclusion with Saruman, is like showing dazzling insight, that this is a massive piece of, observational penetration by Gandalf, right? Saruman is coming out. He hasn't spelled it out exact, but he kind of has. If we could command that, then the power would pass to us, right? This is the recruitment speech and what he's been building towards. He's still being a little bit, he hasn't said the words Bilbo, right? Have you got it with you now, right? Thinking of Bilbo in the Hall of Fire. He hasn't said that exactly, right? So he's still kind of holding some things back, but he's not holding much back, right? This is what he's been building towards. The thing that Gandalf sees is what lies behind it, right? His own personal lust, which means a strong and passionate desire. Don't forget that the word lust, in almost every time that Tolkien uses the word, except one that I know of, there is only one case in which I believe that, lewd sexual desire is even consistent with Tolkien's use of the word lust. His usage just almost never includes that. So don't be thinking in sexual terms. I know that in the modern world, the word lust is used almost exclusively in a sexual context. But that is a very strong narrowing of the meaning of the word from the older times, which Tolkien is definitely invoking. And yes, Fourth Dauntless, that one time I am referring to when Tolkien uses the word lust and that kind of prurient sexual desire is associated with it is Morgoth and Luthien in the Lay of Leithian. Well, I mean, even in the published Silmarillion, it's still there. Yeah. Now, does it still have a negative connotation? WKU fan, now that's a wonderful question. It certainly seems so here, doesn't it? I don't think in that way, perhaps Tolkien is kind of compromising with the modern world, right? In Middle English, the word lust meant desire. Like preachers, Middle English preachers would talk about your lust for God, meaning your desire for God, right? So, I mean, there's just nothing wrong with lust. You can lust, you can set your lust, you can set your desire after the wrong things, right? And that's bad. But lust, as a word, lust itself was not necessarily freighted with negative connotation. Right. Michael Tobias points to the adjective lusty, which is a common adjective. A lusty knecht. Chaucer loves that phrase. And that just means like full of verve, right? Full of pep and get up and go, right? Is what it means to be a lusty knecht. That's also what we're referring to in the lusty in the lusty month of May, as Mallory would say, right, in his famous May chapter that we looked at in the Mythgard Academy. So absolutely. Anyway, lust was a positive. I mean, it could be negative, but it was not shady. In the modern world, it is not only used exclusively in a shady way, right? Lust is never really good. Nobody brags about experiencing lust, right? Or feeling lust or having lust towards anything. And lustful, nobody uses the word lusty anymore, which is kind of a shame, sort of. And certainly the word lustful is only bad, right? Not only is it only bad, but it's also... it's also exclusively sexual, right? It's, when you talk about somebody's lust, you're not talking about desire for anything else in the modern world. So it does seem to me that Tolkien, yeah, exactly, JJ. The King James does use the word lust in both negative and positive context. Yeah, it does. And by the way, that thing which is the seven deadly sin, which we always refer to as lust, like the sin of lust is, when modern people are listing the seven deadly sins, they always use the word lust. In Middle English, if you're wondering what word would they have used, they would have used the word lechery. Lechery is the deadly sin. Lechery's bad. Lechery's never good, right? There's no positive application of lechery, right? But lust can be good or bad. Anyway, the word lust is still universally negative. Tolkien seems... Can anyone think of times or find examples of Tolkien using the word lust in a positive way? I don't think there are any. I can't think of any. Right? One very prominent example that comes immediately to mind is the dragon sickness. When Bilbo first sees Smaug's treasure and says that he did not anticipate the wonder, the lust. You're right, Freebird. We do sometimes still use it metaphorically. When we still do say things like the lust for power. Sometimes. Yep. But even then, you see it's metaphor. It's not just another application of the word. It's like a metaphor. I think when people are saying the lust for power, I think they are using that metaphorically. That is to say, they are explicitly comparing somebody's desire for power to sexual lust. They're basically saying this person's desire for power is almost sexual in nature, right? It's like a sexual desire. I think that's when I hear people use that phrase, that's what I hear. I could be, but again, I don't think it's just a use of, I mean, it's a remnant of that old usage, but, anyway, Okay. Yeah, so tell me if you find any usages, any of you e-text readers out there who can do some quick searches to find lust in a positive sense. Yeah, JJ says even in the letters, lust always seems to be used in a negative sense. Yeah. Now, I think in general when he's... Yeah. And my suspicion would be that in the letters he was probably mostly using it in its modern sexual context. Yeah. Interesting. Sometimes you're right, Lepilia. Sometimes the word lusty still is used. I'm counting that out too quickly, maybe. Occasionally. Yeah. Good, lusty as Tom. Yes, exactly. Good. Yep. Lusty is used as an adjective by Tolkien in a positive way. Oh, good. Yeah, Flammifer, you were saying the same thing about lust for power. Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. But yeah, so lusty survives. It's kind of surviving in the modern world. A little bit. People don't say that very often anymore. But yeah, lusty as Tom. That's good. I had forgotten about that one. It's not the same thing. It's not just the word lust, but it's it's a derivative, but it's close. Right. And the cock is crowing lustily in the inn yard. Yeah. Sure. So Tolkien uses the word lusty, and the adverbial form lustily, once. Okay. Yeah. Tora Martin says, the cock is living its best life. Yep. Indeed. Lepilia. Okay. The lust of battle is on, right. Éomer is in the grip of the lust of battle. I'd forgotten that one. That one's, yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting because that one is a little ambivalent, isn't it? I don't think it's good. I mean, it's not as bad as like the lust for gold, or, the lust which Saruman is here failing to conceal, shining in his eyes. It's not the lust for the ring. It's not the lust for gold. I don't think it's... Yeah, I agree, Fourth Dauntless. I wouldn't go as far as calling it positive. Yeah, but it's a little bit ambivalent. Yeah, JJ says Faramir wouldn't approve. You're right. Faramir would certainly not approve of the lust of battle. Yeah. Anyway, I don't want to get too thoroughly sidetracked on that, but I just wanted to emphasize that since the word lust, this is a very prominent usage of the word lust in the Lord of the Rings. So it does mean desire, but I think we're pretty safe in saying that that lust is it means clearly Gandalf is suggesting by using the word that it's a shady desire, a highly morally questionable desire that is shining suddenly in his eyes. All right. Well, I'm going to end our discussion here. We'll do Gandalf's response next time, and then sort of the final stage, as we see Saruman responding to Gandalf. But be interesting to look at Saruman's response with Gandalf and to kind of test this theory that I've been playing with here today about what Saruman, trying to imagine, putting ourselves in Saruman's head. What does he think's happening here, and what is he trying to accomplish, and how? Right. So we'll see how that pans out in the end there. Anyway, okay. Cool. All right. Awesome. Thanks everybody for joining me. Stick around for our field trip because today's field trip is going to be particularly exciting I am all kinds of pumped up for our field trip today because we are going to go to strange new places today. So yeah, I didn't do announcements before. One last announcement before we go. Tomorrow night, which is Wednesday night, the 4th of November, we're going to be starting our new book. We finally finished Morgoth's Ring after only 56 hours of discussion, and we are shifting to Dante's Inferno based on the votes of our electorate. They asked for Dante, and Dante they shall get. So we're going to talk about Inferno. We're starting with Canto 1 tomorrow, so feel free to join us tomorrow night, 10 p.m. Eastern Time. I'll be on Twitch, and I'll also be there's a link to the GoToWebinar session we'll be using for that on the mythgard.org website. Dante is going to be a lot of fun, so we'll all be descending into hell promptly tomorrow. I hope that y'all will be able to join me for that. It's really the only circumstance under which I would, of course, normally I would not say that I hope you guys will all accompany me to hell, but in this one instance, I do hope so. But now we're going to shift to our field trip, because here's what we're doing. So last week, for those of you who were with us for our field trip last week, we finished our long-term exploration of Angmar, which means we have pretty much finished. Sorry, I'm not hitting the right thing here. No, why am I not? All right, never mind. We are pretty much finished with Eriador. We finished Angmar, and we've been pretty much everywhere in Eriador except for further south. We haven't been to Eregion yet. We haven't been to Enidwaith and down towards Dunland. And that's on purpose, because we're waiting until we get there in the storyline, right? Not Dunland, as we'll never get there in the storyline. But we're going to pass through Eregion with the company, of course. So we're going to wait for the company with that. And we've done everything else. We've been everywhere else here in Eriador. So we're going to go on an adventure. We actually did the Misty Mountains, Aranas. We did, in fact, do the Misty Mountains some time ago. Right after we did Rivendell, we sort of segued into the Misty Mountains from Rivendell. We're gonna go. So we were thinking, let's go somewhere which we've been discussing, but we have never seen in game. So I want to go to the Gladden Fields. We're going to head over towards the Vales of Anduin and explore the Gladden Fields. The Gladden Fields, of course, is one of the newer areas released by the game. And the thing that's going to be especially fun about this, there are three things that are especially fun about the Gladden Fields as an in-game field trip destination. The first thing that's fun about them is I've never been there in my life. I've never seen them in game. So this will be me exploring brand new landscape and doing whole new archeo gaming that I've never done before. So that's one thing that's really fun about this. The second thing that's going to be really fun about this is that my character Narnian is a complete wuss and totally under level here. He's like 25 levels under level for this area. So he's going to be getting his butt kicked by like every sparrow and finch that flies by right as we go along in the Gladden Fields. So I will need some help for people who want to contribute to the fun project of keeping my character alive in order to enable me to explore this area. So that's the second fun thing about exploring the Gladden Fields. The third fun thing about this field trip is that I have no idea how to get there. So we're just gonna see what we can find. So that's the plan. Come on, what could go wrong? Before class, Valori and Druid's Fire were trying to convince me that this probably wouldn't work, and I'm like, hey, this is fine. So Narnian just did something so Narnian has never, apart from the Seven Swords quest, that was the only quest Narnian's ever completed. He's never quested at all. He's never completed a quest. He's never leveled up. I did the Valar thing to get him up to level 95. So he's at level 95 still. Until a couple hours ago, Narnian was still wearing his intro outfit, like the plumed hat you get from that ranger in the cabin in Breland.
Oh dear.
Right at the end, like, so he had like level 5 gear until earlier tonight.
Explains a lot about Angmar.
Yeah, exactly. So however, he's now, I put on his level 95 stuff. So now he's all armored. I mean, look at how duded up he is. Here, check this out. Here's what Narnian looks like. And now this is terrible. Hang on here. I can see him a little bit better there. Yeah, there you go. He looks sort of like a really questionable attendant at a like country club, or like he looks like a bungalow.
That's armor for you.
Yeah, he looks like a cheap bungalow entertainer, in some beach resort. But anyway, that's fine. So
Buffett cover guy.
So this is what we're gonna do. Oh, and I see he's got his white shoes on here, so it looks like he's wearing sneakers. So,
just do it.
So let's go. So how do we get there? We're going to go out and we're going to go east.
There's 2 main ways to get there.
Okay.
Over land without using Mithril Coin.
Okay.
One is to go through the Misty Mountains, up through the path where we took Wiegand.
Right.
And then when we get to the river, hang a right. The other method would be to go to Lothlorien and go northeast from there and run up the river. That actually probably would be safer and shorter.
Yeah,
safer and shorter. Okay.
And prettier.
Well, yeah. Scudo says we should cross the Misties. It's more in character. Well, so here's one advantage of the Misty Mountains. We've been there before. So it would be crossing through familiar territory, going into domain that is adjacent to domain we've already explored, rather than leaping ahead to a place we haven't explored, which is Lothlorien, and riding up from there.
Okay, you're the boss.
Right? What could go wrong? So,
pretend he's a chicken and shoot everything, hunters.
I get more gray hairs every time.
This is going to be fun. So let's meet in Rivendell, right? That's the best way, right?
Yes.
Let's meet in Rivendell. Let's go to Rivendell. So let's go off to Rivendell. Let's meet up in Rivendell by the stables. In Rivendell.
Has anyone got res powers, by the way?
It'll be fun. I think probably I might need somebody to, because I suspect that I would, if I'm killed, I'm gonna totally like res back in Bree, right?
Or wherever your milestone is set to.
Wherever my milestone is set to?
Yeah, generally.
I have like 2 or 3.
Your main one.
My main one. I don't know which one is probably Bree then. But
just let us know if it happens.
Yeah.
It's all good.
It's fine. So yeah, I would just need somebody who could. So if we fill it up, you could summon me. Could you? How could I get summoned back?
That's the problem. You can't.
You can't summon me.
Nope. You have to be at least 105.
Really? Okay.
I'm a hunter. I could get you someplace.
All right. Well, then here's an interesting thing. Then, where's the nearest milestone to like where we're going to end up to? Like, is there a milestone reasonably close to the, like the sort of the front edge there of?
Well, that would have been Lothlorien then.
There are other milestones.
Yeah. Basically, I'm just randomly running around town. I think I ran up towards the Prancing Pony because we were talking about milestones. So subconsciously, I was thinking about my milestone. I'm going down to I'm eventually headed down towards the Stable Master, but I should probably actually think about where I'm in fact going. Okay. I'm clear now.
I do think we should follow up though, so we don't get separated.
Yeah, that's a good plan. That's a good plan. We should definitely follow up. Just on the offhand chance that something bad happens.
I'm on his Linus today, by the way. He's my highest player.
Cool.
I would have brought my 130.
Hey, yeah, so Bjorninghouse, right? Bjorninghouse we could go to. We could milestone there, right?
Yeah, Bjorninghouse would be a good choice. Vegbar is the Bjorning
connected
settlement
to the rest
close to the river.
Okay.
Is the Bjorning world connected to the rest of the world now?
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah, that I remember doing that as a chicken, getting there.
I remember doing the Bjorning entry and being so upset I couldn't get any closer.
Yeah, I was too. I was disappointed about that. So hang on a second. Is there any way to travel, like to take a horse to the Bjorn? Never mind. I want to cross the mountains. This is going to be fun. Okay.
Yeah,
I want the full effect. I want to see, Wilderland spreading out before me. That's what I want. I insist.
Yeah.
Okay. No, this is going to be great.
To the stables.
Where are we going? To Rivendell, where elves yet dwell.
So probably our next stop, if you have it unlocked, would be Hrimbarg. It's the closest stable master to where we're going
Hrimbarg, you
on
say.
our
I can
side.
port us there. I think I have a port to Crimber.
Okay, so you can do a hunter thing to there.
I believe so.
Oh, this is going to be awesome.
Yes, Hrimbarg.
And we can go to Rosgobel. We might as well go visit Radagast, like Radagast's house, because, we just met him for the only time we're ever going to in the Lord of the Rings. So, no, this is the perfect area for us to explore now. When are we going to get a better excuse to come here? I'm telling you. This is going to be awesome.
All right, I'll be standing over here by Bert Bartleby. Over here, if you would like to be followed up with us, please head over here.
Bert
I don't know.
Bartleby?
Bearing in
think
mind,
some of
nobody
these
can see
people-
him unless they've done bingo.
Oh, yeah, no, you're right. Sorry, I don't see
See
him.
Rohirrim.
He's invisible
Oh,
to
that's
me.
right, over here.
Yeah, if we stand over by Aragorn's horse. Yeah, Rohirrim.
All right. Okay. I'm also limited. We have a limit of 6 people, so I'm just.
We do?
We can make a raid.
We could
Oh,
totally
right,
raid the
right.
mountains.
We could do a raid for this one. We're not doing a.
Yeah, we're not doing instances. So okay, so Glorellen, what is this guy up to? I don't remember this guy.
If you still need to be invited, please head over to me. If not,
What's he up to? Oh, the Ettenmoors? He wants me to go to the Ettenmoors? Why would I do that?
Edinburgh is the PvP.
Yeah. Why is this guy trying to induce me to go to the Ettenmoors? The place is
Because you're
dangerous.
high enough level to go to the end.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Now
Okay.
you two can wear base game armor again and get eaten by works.
Well,
Anyone
no,
else
you
need
can
to
wear
join?
cosmetics in it.
Okay.
The Moors now.
Okay, yeah. Oh, that's fun.
Yeah,
I
I'll change that.
generally, if I'm in the Etmores, I'm eating munchy, crunchy hobbits.
Okay, this is
All right.
great. All right. Okay, here's D-May here. She's not in the group yet.
Oh, okay. Where's Timmy?
We should get...
Timmy? Okay, once again,
we
stand
should
over
get-
by
we-
me if you still need to be fed.
Yeah, go over there to Linus over here. So over here. Yeah, there we go. All right, so yeah. Yes. D-May, miss, I accidentally killed the Balrog. Anybody who accidentally kills a Balrog can surely is qualified to accompany me across. Okay. This is going to be awesome. This is going to be great. Whoa. It's a long list of... Okay.
We'll need to make sure both groups have a healer just in case.
Oh yeah, there's another one over there. Lathlornileth. She's the only non-blue floaty name I see around here, apart from NPCs.
Is that everyone? I think
No, there's
Oh,
one more.
there's-
Yeah, the
is
one
that
that's
Mother?
running around in circles. Yeah.
it would help if you stayed still, please.
Okay, that's right.
Well, there's a Sir Narsipal. That's Tomas. Wait,
Okay.
he's in a he's in the other party. Never mind.
Yeah.
The other fellowship.
All right.
Okay, I think we got everybody. If not, ride with us and I'll get you.
All right. So this is gonna be awesome. So, oh wait, hang on a second.
Okay.
What
Now,
is
can I
this?
port everyone to
I'm
here?
riding the
or
wrong. I'm
do
riding
you
the wrong
have other
horse. Hang on a
people?
second. You can. How many people can
D-May
you
will
port?
have to port the other group if she's got.
Oh,
the
D-May,
port.
do you have a
Where are
port
you gonna
to
port
Grimbark?
us to?
Grimbark.
No, don't port us to Himmelberg. I want to ride over the mountains.
Will.
Okay.
Grimbark is on this side of the mountains.
Okay, wait, hang on a second. So, which one is Hrimberg?
Primbarg is on this side of the mountains. It's a dwarf camp, so there's some stuff to look at.
Oh, the dwarf camp in Himberg. Yeah, okay, right, sure. Hey, looks like I've got a
okay.
quest for there. Oh, no, that's just where the war effort needs me. Okay, fine.
All right.
All right, fine.
Team,
That's fine.
I'm
We can port to there. That's fine. And then we'll ride over from there. That'll be great.
Yep. Have mercy, sir. It's daylight saving.
Yeah, so Dime to Hrimbarg. Hrimbarg.
The Misty
Hrimbarg.
Mountains one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I did not get a port request.
Huh.
What?
That's okay. I've got a stable map.
Yeah, I can't think we were very thorough in our exploration of the Misty Mountains.
No, we weren't. We only went to the Goblin Town. So
Yeah, it was
folks
basically
in chat were
goblins
correct.
and none of the dwarf encampments.
Some might say if you've seen one, you've seen them all, but
Yeah, I did think we were going to revisit these after looking at Thorns all north of Eredluin, but they are kind of samey.
isn't Arnthro? He's hanging out with us, but he's not blue named.
Arnthro, he's
Longspawn, isn't it?
oh yeah, he's here. Yeah, that's right.
He's here, but he's not in the raid.
That is Bongspan. Yeah, we
Okay,
should
I will
include him if we
invite
can.
to it. Alrighty.
Yep. All right.
And Laura, can you please move Guinness over to the other group? That way they have a healer.
Sure, I know how to do that.
I was gonna say I don't know how to do that.
It's been a while, sorry.
That's okay.
Okay.
Yes. Remind me how I know how to do that.
O for the social panel and go to raid.
Ah,
Read. Oh, okay.
right.
And it's Guinness.
Yep.
Is that correct? Ooh, drag and drop. Nice.
Mhm.
Okie dokie.
That way each group has at least one healer. I see Gravity is there on his mini, but I think he's in nuke everything from orbit mode, which is fine.
That
That
works
sounds
for me.
useful. Okay. Are we ready?
I believe so.
Okay. I will go to the Gladden Fields, but I do not know the way. We head vaguely north from here, yeah?
You can follow Scamper Bear. I know the way.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, let's go. I'm not war steeding, by the way.
I'm Worsted in slow mode. It's fine.
Okay. All right, I'm just
It's really funny
enjoying.
when you get up to the switchbacks with the war steeds, though.
Yeah, no, I'm not
It's
even.
like a merry-go-round horse coming loose.
I'm not even. Let's see. Now that's probably a natural formation. Yeah, I think that those are like buttes up there on the side of the mountains over there.
Yeah.
Okay, I see that. So that's the mountain pass we're looking for?
Indeed, it is.
Excellent. That's fantastic.
And off to the right, you can see a giant encampment.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah. Darn it, I keep... Stupid UI. Okay. Sorry. Okay. Tempting to steer. And look around. No problem. Bringing up the rear. Here we are. Still totally non-threatened by any mobs, so that's fine.
Yeah, at this rate.
Yeah, so the goal tonight is to get to a place that I can get a milestone so that having achieved, the journey here, we don't have to redo it every time. We can just port.
Okay. Well, it might be a question of the highest milestone you are capable of selecting.
Oh, wait, they're going to limit
I do
that?
recall from my
No.
my on-foot trip to Rohan that there are some limits as to milestones you can actually accept.
No, did they stop that?
Did they
I
stop
don't
it?
think so. You can. I've set my milestone to weird places before.
Have a care, the path beyond is dangerous. How bad can it be, man?
Don't say that.
Okay, here we are. Oh, look at immediately, right? Look at the bark on the trees, man. Like the graphics are just better right away. You tell this is a newer area.
Yeah, the hearts
Look
are
at
just
look
as
at this.
deadly.
Not only is the name of the place in red, but I've got like a yellow flashing box around it. Like, you do realize where you are. Dangerous places.
Danger, danger, Will Robinson.
Bearing in mind that even the lady deer will attack you, even though
Oh
they're
no,
not
absolutely.
aggressive.
Ooh,
Just like that
this
one that
gets
chased
trampled by
Wiggin
the
down the
Joe.
tunnel at Henneth Anduin one time.
Oh yeah.
All right, no problem. Okay, so
I think I
far,
better get on my war steed if we got targets now.
nice wintry landscape. That's great. Love the mist. Okay, so where are we in our map here? Okay, coming down the pass. We're still in the mountains, though. We're still up. We're still high up in the mountains. This is the way I went through here as a chicken, didn't I?
Yep.
Oh, I think
Yeah.
we went through here on a Mythgard.
Yeah, this was a Wiggin run. I think.
Yeah. Well, but not in Mythgard. Mythgard days were like the Mythgard Mondays were still like before this was
No, a
released.
Mythmoot.
Oh, Mythmoot.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. The chicken run. Yeah, the chicken run.
Yeah, I
Exactly.
remember.
Boy, that wolf is having some issues. Having some
Come on,
needs some
doggy, you can do
medical
it.
attention. Yeah. No, I'm remembering the surroundings. And was I running in the form of a chicken, or was I just running as Wiggin, straight from?
I think we were just running.
Yeah, I just did
It was a Wiggin adventure.
Yeah,
That's right. We were going to go to Thranduil's palace. That was what it was.
yeah. We went all the way through to because it was my first time through northern Mirkwood. So it's the second time I've seen this path, but everybody made me stick to the path because they're like, it's too dangerous.
We
don't
tried
leave the
to
path.
keep you on the path.
Well, I know,
Yeah.
but that's the point.
But it was so exciting.
Whereas now, you see, we are in field trip mode. And you know what that means? Thorough exploration. That's what that
Yeah,
means.
great. Yeah.
I don't think you're gonna pick up the deed though. that
Nah,
happens here.
that's okay. Don't need the deed. Okay,
But
now
it's
here
exciting.
you can see the land opening out beneath us. Ah, the green lands as we descend towards the foothills of the mountains. Oh, this is exciting. Okay, sorry. I'm still used to trying to turn with my left clicker and I can't turn. That's okay. Okay, we've descended below the snow line. I'm looking for any evidence of stuff. Where are we going to be coming down? Okay, we're going to come down south of the Carrick.
Uh-huh.
So this is where this is the other side of the path that Gandalf and Elrond were trying to send Bilbo and company on in The Hobbit, right? And they ended up coming out further north by the Carrick, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now we found the Wolf Glade, didn't we? When I came through
Yes.
before?
We did find the wolf glade and the fir trees, etc. We just passed them on the left.
Wait, we just passed the fir trees?
They're back this way.
Oh, okay. Well, that's extremely tempting. But I'm going to try to stick with my primary objective tonight, which is getting through and finding a milestone. Because this is not a marathon broadcast. This is a normal field trip. Sort of normal. Oh, there's as normal as like somebody being chased around in circles by a deer is normal. Which is not very normal, but I suppose around here it's going to be, this is going to be the new normal. People being chased and hunted by deer will be the new normal for field trips. Love the waterfall. Uh-oh, somebody's killing me. I wonder who it is. Oh, it's a worm. That's embarrassing. A crawler is in heavy pursuit. Still around. Oh, it's going. Oh no, a deer!
Jeez. Can't leave you alone for 2 seconds.
Nope. No way. Whew. Ah. See, but I'm fine. Look, I took like 3 hits and it didn't kill me. What was that thing called? A hell heart? No, a hill heart. Okay, I'm going to say it looked more like a hell.
I'm going to say Hellheart.
More like a hell heart to me, but man, this place is thick with these aggressive deer.
Yeah.
boy, I'm going to tell Grifflet about this. He's going to feel all of his suspicions just heartily confirmed.
Heartily confirmed?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, wait, we're turning off to the right here?
Yes, please.
Okay, that's good because I've got, I think, 2 deer pursuing me right now.
Oh, jeez.
Because I started to go the other way, in fact.
Ah, gotcha.
Because the other road you see led to what looked like a ruin, so I was assuming that's obviously the way that we wanted to go. But I can understand if it's not. Right, this is. Oh, I see. There's a stable master here.
Mm-hmm. That's a Vegbar.
Oh, yeah, definitely click on
Okay,
that.
I keep seeing that person's wolf and thinking it's coming to kill me. Okay, so
Just assume it is, and we'll just
right.
take that.
Well, that's what I am. I'm just assuming any mobile creature I see is probably coming after me. Okay, so
Yeah, I got some
what do we have?
goblin
Oh,
town
these
stuff.
are bears. They're no. Okay, they're not going to kill me. They are killing me.
They're trying to kill me.
They just killed me.
I'm a Bjorning.
What on earth is going on here?
Misunderstanding.
Why are the bears running amok?
They're not supposed to. They're supposed to be friendlies.
Well, I thought I saw that they were guards, and then all of a sudden they jumped me.
Maybe you're too low level.
Yeah, JJ says we didn't pay the toll, probably. Oh, now they've become invisible. Who's swinging axes? There's like an
Ghost bears.
There are ghost bears swinging
Ghost
axes.
bears back.
This actually may be a bug.
This is
Yeah, I think
bizarre.
so. Let's just abandon. Let's just keep going, I guess.
Where's the stable master? All right, I'm gonna. Is everybody okay for me to revive? I'm
coming
reviving.
back.
Except
get
I'm
that stable
reviving
master
in
real
Bree.
quick.
Okay. Yeah.
This is bizarre.
So the bad news is I'm in Bree now. But
I put this in Slack after class so Cordovan can see it tomorrow.
that was not my fault. Okay? Everything was going according to plan.
Well, I'm back in town
Whoa.
and nobody's attacking me.
Right. Okay. Is it possible to rally horn me?
No. If it's red
won't
to
work?
you, no.
If it's red to me, no.
Yeah, no, it got me out. I'm out.
We can rally you to
Bjorning House?
Bjorning House.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's maybe.
It still got me engaged. I
Or-
can't turn it off.
You're still in combat
Run
mode?
out of town if you can.
I'm still in combat.
Boy, that was just... Look, that was something that was really not calculable, I gotta tell you.
No. That's definitely a bug. I'm fairly comfortable
When the
with.
local bears just set on you.
Wildlife. When animals attack.
Yeah,
Oh, now they're
exactly.
attacking me again.
Yeah. No, they're
Yeah,
gonna.
frankly,
they're
I don't
trying
think
to
I
get
want to come
somebody.
back to where you guys are, but hang on a second. So where can I... Is there anywhere I can... I'm in
is
South Bree
there-
now. Where do you get to... Isn't there a stable master at the Bjorning House?
Not directly from Bree. There's one called Hultvist, which is
Hultvist.
a far-reaching stable master.
Sure.
You're gonna have to use a mithril coin to
Yeah,
get
no
there.
worries.
I don't know if the bears there will do what they did here.
We can only see.
All right. I'm
Okay.
heading that way myself.
All right, I'll go there.
I still got a Bjorning guard on my tail.
That was amazing.
That's almost as bad as the moose from Durin's Day for the girls in
Yeah,
Middle Earth.
yeah.
That was
I remember
completely
that.
amazing. All right, I'm in Hultvus and so far not yet being attacked.
Well, you're still on a stable mount too.
Okay, no, I'm off it now. Hang on. And
Oh,
there's the
okay,
stable
hang on.
master. And I'm introducing myself. Okay. All right. I am in Hultvus and so far so good. And okay, all right, I see where I am. Okay, I'm on the other side of the river from you guys now. Maybe I'll just ride up and
I'll
meet up
be
with you
right
guys. I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
No,
Just
we're
kidding.
coming down to you.
Okay. Now, is there a milestone here? That would be even
Yes,
handier.
there should be.
All
Can I
right.
do it while I'm in combat mode? Is the question.
I'm going into the middle of town. Because I guess this would be as good a place as any to start our explorations from. Let's see. What does the milestone look like? Oh, it's right there in front of my face.
Honestly,
Okay.
I would have suggested Hultvist, but I didn't want to.
Nope, it won't let
to
me.
use a
It
mithril
says
coin.
my level is too low to milestone it.
Gosh darn it.
Minimum level 105. Yeah, yeah. Oh, well, no problem. At least I have the stable master. So I should be able to ride here from Bree then, right?
Yep.
Yep. Whether
No
we
problem.
want to come back here is another question.
The locals are very unfriendly.
Well, they were up
Yeah.
there. I mean, we'll have to consider like a trip up there. But
They're a bit bearish. No, they're still invisible floating ghost axes.
and they're still being attacked by invisible floating. Are they following you, the invisible ghost
I
axes?
can't tell because they don't show up on the meter.
Man, that was just bizarre.
One of the things about mobs, Mordor and beyond, is they will follow you longer than you're used to from previous content once they aggro onto you.
All right.
That was actually kind of fun and weird, but
That was,
still.
I mean, it was definitely weird. I mean, it was kind of fun.
That brought back memories of Lorien right there. Nope, got killed by a guard again.
Yep. Okay. Right. So there you are, Druid's Fire. Here we are right in front of the gates. Well, this is as
Lori,
good a
are
place
you
as...
still way back at?
No, I got killed again, and it was in the red circle just outside of town.
Okay. All right. So
Okay,
yeah,
yeah.
I think we'll plan to start here in Holtvis next time. If I can quick travel here from Bree, that's as good as anything else. So that's fine.
Yeah, I'm
Bring
still
rally horns
mounted.
next.
Who
time.
needs a mile? So I have rally horns, but I guess you said wouldn't work.
Well, I was gonna bring
so.
Valori over.
Yeah.
I see.
Where are you guys at?
We're at Holtvist.
Yeah, we're at the gates of Holtvis.
What is Lutfisk, Coltfisk? What is
It's the
If you
town
look at the
across
map,
the
it's
river.
got the blue horse on it.
Yeah, it's the blue horse
Okay.
town. Exactly. Why is the horse blue? I was wondering that.
That is called a
Holtvist.
far-ranging stable master. That means that they
Oh.
can go various places that regular local stable masters cannot.
Okay. Right on. Okay.
In fact,
Well,
Holtvist
I-
was the very first one in the game.
Can't wait. There are statues. This is going to be great. So we'll start here in Holtvis, because why not? I mean, I kind of like to start in the Gladden Fields themselves, but we'll start here and then we'll head down towards the Gladden Fields, and then we'll head back up towards the town with the invisible bear axes, and then we'll head back, swing back around by the Bjorning house and the Carrick, and then Ross Goebel. This is going to be great. We're going to thoroughly explore all of this place, and anybody who needs to get their their venison deeds out of the way. I don't know if there are venison deeds here, but they would certainly. Okay, all right, man. Don't mess me about with bog guardians like that. Like, I'd heard rumors about the bog guardians around here. I was expecting that one to jump me. Anyway, look, there's a wild deer over there, and he's not even attacking.
Don't get its attention. And it's
Don't-
kind of
don't-
like
don't do that.
it's kind of like T-Rexes at Jurassic Park.
Right. The Forest Heart has 220,000 morale points.
Yep,
That is
Wow.
amazing.
they will mess you up.
That
They're
is
very
amazing.
confident deer.
Okay, well, did I not say this was going to be an exciting field trip today? Like, boy, that was something we did not expect. So, thanks everybody for helping me find my way I found my way safely to the Bjorning lands when an unaccountable and wholly unexpected but incredibly interesting and fun thing happened. And next week we shall begin exploring the land of the Bjornings into a brave new country full of architecture and plastic arts that we've not seen anywhere else. So I can't wait. So we'll begin that next week, and then we will go out from here, and everything is going to be great. Awesome.
All right.
Thanks so much, everybody. I look forward to this. Field trips are going to be so much fun for the next few months. It's going to be great. So thanks, everybody, and we'll see you guys next week. Bye now.
Bye.
Thanks for joining me on this epic exploration of The Lord of the Rings and of Standing Stone's video adaptation of Tolkien's story. If you are having even half the fun I'm having on this journey, I hope you will consider supporting the project by donating at signumuniversity.org/fund.